What is up guys, it is Ross and welcome back to another Mario Kart Wii Limitless vehicle showcase and developer commentary. In this episode, the randomizer has given us the Spear, which is one of the more vanilla faithful vehicles in Limitless in a similar vein to Flame Runner. The Spear, obviously one of the fastest bikes in the game, but its drift stat is terrible, which can lead to interactions like that where I just get mollywopped by somebody in a star, which obviously isn't ideal. So the Spear, as I've said, it's just a vanilla vehicle, but it's got a Limitless twist. I'll see if I can show it off here. I'm going to deliberately not get a mini turbo at some point so that I can show it off. Admittedly, I have no clue where I'm going to do it on GC and Waluigi Stadium and all tracks, but I feel like the Piranha pipe section would be a good place to show it off. Okay, I'm not going to get a mini turbo. I'm just going to hang about, not in a wheelie. No, I don't know if you saw that there, but I shot straight up the top speed there in half a second. The reason for that is simple. Spear has a really high A3 acceleration stat. We decided to lean into Spear's status as a speed demon in vanilla Mario Kart Wii. And so to do that, we gave it really high A3 acceleration, nice hop dodge, to basically make it better at preserving the speed at which it is famed for. And as you can tell, I have no clue how to drive this track on bike, so I'm not exactly making a very good case of this thing for now. So it's good at preserving its speed on straightaways, which is good because, obviously, because it's the Spear, it's not so good at preserving its speed on turns. Because its mini turbo is one of the worst in the game, and its drift is decidedly lackluster. So yeah, on a turn like Waluigi Stadium, you're not going to be rewarded too much on the turns compared to other vehicles like Flame Runner. But on the straightaways, you can use that A3 acceleration gimmick to preserve your speed way better than other bikes can, for sure. So yeah, other than its speed, which is very high, the Spear just has weight as its advantage. It's just your typical speed-based vehicle. It's got speed, but it doesn't have very much else. Now, speed is a very versatile stat in Mario Kart Wii. You can gain a lot from simply going fast. And that is very much the Spear's sort of claim to fame. Like, if you want a really fast inside drifting bike, look no further than the Spear. If you don't mind the trade-off of terrible drifting, you can honestly just you can just go with Spear and you shouldn't be too badly off as long as you can adapt to the turns. Its off-road is similarly terrible, and its acceleration is pretty so-so. Its low-range accel is pretty good, its mid-range acceleration is terrible, and its high-range accel is obviously magnificent, as I've just described. So you can be in a pretty good position depending on how much speed you lose. Like, if you hit a banana or get wheelie bumped, it's not the end of the world, but if you get if you hit a red shell, then you're not gonna be feeling too hot after that. Like, you can tell it took me a hot minute to gain back all my speed there. It really is just sort of vanilla Spear, but with a twist, and also buffed to make it keep up with the other vehicles Limitless has to offer. Like, its drift, as much as its drift is bad, it's nowhere near as bad as it is in vanilla Mario Kart Wii. It's been buffed pretty significantly, actually, though it still remains the worst for inside drift bikes, because, gotta keep its identity. And while that does knuckle it on quite a few of the tracks that Limitless has, including, regrettably, the more popular tracks this season, the top speed can definitely put in work on other tracks. Like, it's more than 2 km/h faster than the Flame Runner, I believe. Which is a pretty insane advantage, because I think it's only half a km/h faster in vanilla. Which is an advantage that is most certainly undone by its mini turbo weakness. It's very much one of those vehicles that is pretty track dependent. you're kind of... Oh, how do I describe it? It's like a vehicle like Cheap Charger once... I fucked that up. A vehicle like Cheap Charger once attracts with a lot of tight turns to like squeeze out mini turbos and minimal airtime so that its lack of top speed cannot be abused. Spear is the complete opposite. It wants a lot of straightaways and wide turns so that its weakness in drift isn't taken advantage of nearly as much. And it wants a lot of airtime so that its lack of mini turbos isn't as much of a sore spot. And its higher speed relative to other vehicles can be better abused. Because obviously in Mario Kart Wii, all vehicles gain the exact same amount of speed in a trick boost proportionally, which means that the mini turbo stat is pretty much the only area of differentiation between how well a vehicle can boost. Which is unrelated to speed, by the way, it's purely duration. There we go, I did it that time. And its mini turbo, it's bad, but it's long enough to where you can pretty comfortably do like realignment strats, like the one I just did just before the fork in the path there, and still have enough mini turbo juice left in the tank to be able to wheelie without having to manually accelerate up to top speed. Like, the boost will carry you to your top speed pretty much. Which admittedly isn't as big of a deal on Spear, because its A3 acceleration is obviously broken, but... You know, it's nice, like, it's a quality of life thing, you know. You take the small victories and the big victories will take themselves, that kind of thing. It's actually a very fun track to drive on bike. Oh. Let's not press the wrong button on the control stick. Let's not drive into the wall. I've already done that multiple times this recording. I think this video and the last video I've recorded, my driving has been less than exemplary. Perfect. Alright, nice way to end that. Nice little stride in there. And that's obviously a straightaway where the A3 really helps. Because you don't want to waste time building a mini turbo there that you're not going to be able to take full advantage of. So being able to just cancel your drift with a wheelie and gain all your speed that way is really helpful. Spear is a pretty bouncy bike in the base game. I believe it's the second bounciest bike behind the Magic Cruiser. And the latest Limitless update actually sought to remedy this for bikes by changing their suspension stats in a way so that they can still do tech. Like, in a way that they can still do, like, tech. Like, tail dive, hard nose diving off of a ramp to, like, alter their drifting trajectory, or one of my personal favorite techs, Rio drifting, which I'll see if I can do that somewhere at some point, but not enough to change the tech, but enough to, like, make it so that they don't, like, super bounce upon the slightest elevation change. And enough to, like, not give them millions of airtime off of ramps, because that's also affected by suspension. Spear, specifically, is still pretty noticeable, but I think that's just because it's a heavyweight. Like, I think other bikes with high suspension values, like Magic Cruiser and Sugar Scoop and Bullet Bike, like, they would obviously get a whole lot of airtime as well. You just notice it less because they're in lower weight classes, so they get less air by default. And we thought this was, like, changing the suspension values. It's not a thing in Rebalanced or Wii Deluxe or any other of those balancing mods, so we thought including it in Limitless would be a very nice quality of life change. Because it would give you less of the downsides to having high suspension while still being able to capitalize on their strengths. If that makes sense. Because I know there are a lot of people who like messing with suspension. Like, ask any vanilla Jet Setter player and they will tell you that the bounciness of that vehicle is part of the fun. Especially manual jet setter players, because they get a ton of mileage out of like bouncing upon drifting and then like drifting the other way. The aforementioned Rio drift. So the fact that the Spear has this tool to work with is actually pretty nice. Even if it doesn't get as much mileage out of it as maybe outside drifting vehicles do, the fact that Spear can like get bad landings into sharp turns and still be able to capitalize on them is very good, I think. I don't know, maybe the Spear experts would tell me otherwise, because I'm not an inside drifting bike expert by any means, but well, would you look at that, that's the end of the showcase. Very much a vehicle that you should pick up if you're a fan of vanilla Spear. You'll feel right at home. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to check out the next parts when they come out, and the previews if you haven't already. And until then, this is Ross, signing out. Goodbye.